And good evening, folks, slash good morning, depending on where you are in the world. It's I, Sam Whitfield, host of the Whitfield Report, and I just figured I would do this final live stream for 2018 here, and just wanted to check in and say hey to all of you guys, and sorry there was no audio podcast on Thursday for those of you who do subscribe to the audio feed. We had weather difficulties and the Wi-Fi got knocked out briefly. So there was no show on Thursday. Again, apologies. But this will be uploaded to the podcast feed. So all in all, it should be pretty good. As I said, folks, it's the end of the year, and this is our final episode. So let's dive into it, shall we? In terms of topics for the week. General Mad Dog Mattis has stepped down as Secretary of Defense in a move that I'm honestly not sure how to feel about, folks, if I'm being completely honest. By the way, I still have the live chat open for the stream. If anyone wants to go ahead and comment, they're free to do so. But here's my whole take on the Mattis resignation. I have to admit that this is one of the few parts of the Trump administration where I'm not too happy that Trump decided to accept Mattis's resignation, nor am I happy that Trump pulled out entirely of the Middle East. I understand that we wanted to slowly begin getting our troops out, and by all means, I do think that Trump would be eventually making the right decision, but honestly, folks, at this point in the game, I changed the graphic effect. Honestly, folks, it does worry me that as of right now, we're still we're still in the Middle East, and there are still terrorist groups out there. Mark my words. So we don't need a full-on military force, but our people always need to be there. And as near as I can tell, that's what Mattis was trying to say to Trump, and Trump's agenda, I guess, trumped Mattis's advice. So, in all honesty, folks, like I said, I'm lukewarm on Trump's decision to pull out of the Middle East and accept Mattis's resignation. I will say this too. I don't think General Mad Dog Mattis was necessarily a war hawk per se, and I don't think he was part of the New World Order as some have suggested. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that so many congressmen and other officials who are part of the military-industrial complex and who are part of the big war machine here in America, the fact that they're all freaking out over Trump's decision to pull us out Many of these guys are far lefties too. I mean, granted, a lot of them are neocon Republicans, but a lot of them are on the left too. Both the right and the left have, in terms of that, I do think it's interesting that they're flipping out that Trump is pulling us out. As far as Mattis's resignation, I'm just not so sure that's such a good idea at this point. So, anyway, as far as other topics go, I want to talk with you guys a little bit about the state of the podcast scene, what we were able to accomplish, which was huge, by the way. When I started the year in 2018, I didn't even start the year on all these different platforms. The first biggest accomplishment of 2018 obviously was I celebrated my 10 years of podcasting in March. That was a huge success for me. I'm still very proud I made it to 10 years in the world of podcasting. Not only that, though, with the help of Anchor, who powers the audio podcast, we were able to distribute to get the podcast distributed to over 10 platforms. And why is it saying, hang on, it is now saying that we've lost connectivity. I hope that's not the case. Okay, I guess we're still on, even though it's saying that we're having connection issues on the chat. That's weird. Anyway, though, as I was saying, we were able to get the podcast distributed to over 11 podcast platforms, not people. I meant platforms. Which is huge that we were able to do that. I was also in 2018 able to begin accepting patrons and supporters for the show. I started the Patreon page in April, and I also started using this YouTube channel for live streams in April, if you recall. And I've been doing this show from this YouTube channel at youtube.com. We don't have a URL yet for the podcast. We're at 86 subscribers and counting. So I'm hoping to get to 100 so I can claim my URL for the channel. But that'll come in another segment. We started the YouTube channel, and I've had great success with this channel so far. Usually like 30 to 57 views every night, which, believe me, for a small time podcast, just doing live streaming in its first year isn't that bad, actually. And I haven't even been doing it for a full year yet, the live streaming part. We added the addition of the Thursday show, with which the exception of last week has also been a huge success. And finally, in terms of this year's successes for the show, I have started receiving advertising from Anchor, and I've had many wonderful sponsors supporting the podcast, like the good folks over at Flipboard. Within the past, and that's just been within the past month. So again, I'm really grateful and thankful just for the audience support of this show and all the tremendous successes that I've had in 2018. Now, as far as what I want to accomplish in 2019, well, that's another topic. Obviously, I want to continue providing great content. We're going to have more guests on in 2019, some of whom I'm arranging to discuss showtimes with and whatnot. I want to get a better setup in 2019 in terms of software. It's pretty good, but let's just say I've got some equipment, some audio equipment on my Christmas list that I'm hoping to receive, which will greatly improve the quality of the show. And obviously, we want the ad revenue to come in. Now, the other thing that I'm hoping to expand upon in 2019 in the new year is paid content. Obviously, folks, we are going to try and keep the advertising income coming in as well for the podcast. But for those of you who have contributed money on Patreon or Anchor, and I'm very grateful, I do want to provide you guys with a little bit extra of premium content. I know that I can upload audio-only podcasts to Patreon, and that will work. But their RSS feed isn't always the most reliable if you're doing a premium podcast feed. So I've heard that Anchor could potentially be providing a premium subscription service. That's what I've heard. So that could very well happen in 2019. I think it will, especially since there are some other podcasting platforms which are now allowing other people to make premium content available to their listeners. So I'm hoping that rolls out in 2019 for Anchor, and that we're willing and that we're able to participate with that here on the Whitfield Report. And I'm also hoping to be able to take phone calls on the Whitfield Report podcast here in the near future. Back when I did the Whitfield analysis on Blog Talk Radio eons ago now, it seems like, I had a call-in line for the show, and it was fun because I could always take people's phone calls and hear their opinions on what was going on in the world, and it was fun. And obviously I know I have Skype, but I don't want to give everyone access to that account. So if I could find some way to route a phone number into my setup and be able to take phone calls, I will most certainly do that. Above all, folks, I do want to thank you for your continued support of the show, whether you be a regular viewer of the show. I do want to thank our regulars for the show who tune in on a regular basis. Brian Eskew, Gabe, uh, Gabe Shervo, Jolly Roger, Morgan. I don't know if you've been on the stream lately, but I still appreciate your support as well. And obviously, Meritocracy and Chuck and Christy and all of you guys who just tune into the show. You've been great, Savages. And of course, Jeff, who, by the way, Jeff El Jefe, El Jefe, as we're now calling him, is the one who has basically made all the graphics for the show in the past few months. So the logo of the Capitol building with the Whitfield Report lettering on it, that's all Jeff's doing. So once again, folks, I want to thank you so much for supporting the show. God bless and God save this great nation, and I'll see you in 2019.